With the upcoming summer holiday, do you want your child to have a relaxing but at the same time productive break? Do you want them to work on their personal development, pursue their academic work, and really develop their extracurricular activities? Well, please then keep watching this video. I strongly believe that the summer is an ideal time for children and for students to recharge their batteries fully when they don't have a full-on academic work. However, this doesn't mean that your child or a student is not going to do anything. As we know, if we don't plan our days or even weeks ahead, we're likely to procrastinate. Similar principle applies to children. If they don't have a certain structure during the day and they don't have certain targets to fulfill, then they're likely to waste their time away. They're likely to waste it on hours and hours on social media, and this will be even higher compared to when they're back in school. They'll be watching TV shows and they'll be checking emails mindlessly. And does that mean that they're going to be rejuvenated for the next academic year? Well, clearly not. And in this video, I want to discuss and provide actionable tips where you as parents and educators can support the children for them to have this productive summer break where they can relax, but at the same time achieve certain targets in preparation for the next academic year. The only thing I ask in return is please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and subscribe to my newsletter that is aimed at parents and educators, which is full of other educational tips. So without further ado, let's jump into the tips. Tip number 1, catch up on revision notes in preparation for the next academic year. When I start working with my students, I find it surprising that majority of them don't do revision notes. I then ask them, well, how do you know what theory you need to know specifically for your exam board? What do you need to learn in preparation for your exam? And they say, oh, Anna, don't worry, we just remember it. Or, I have my class notes that I can look through. Although that's not the same. Revision notes is students' own interpretation of that particular theoretical material that they need to learn. Previous studies have also shown that writing notes on pen and paper significantly increases the test scores. Especially if your child is in year 10 or in year 12, so in the penultimate year of going towards their exams, it's really important that this summer you can get a separate hard notebook for each subject and they focus on doing revision notes. I have a whole separate video on this. If you just look at the link below, it will appear here shortly, and basically get them to do those notes, because then they will be ahead of their class peers and then they can do very well in their tests and upcoming exams. And usually the schools give, surprise tests in September, where they might be testing their scores, so it's always good to be prepared in advance. My tip number 2, minimize using social media. If you know me, then you know that I'm a big advocate for working with students on minimizing their social media overusage. We live in the era where our attention is being constantly stolen by numerous social media platforms. As adults, I believe we still can kind of regulate how much we spend on it and understand that actually just scrolling mindlessly through social media is actually a form of addiction. However, if children, especially teenagers, are left unsupervised and left to their own devices, i.e. phones and social media platforms, they waste so much time away, and it really decreases their cognition. It has been shown to decrease their mental health, and you can imagine if they keep flipping between videos on social media like 30 seconds each, that will really decrease their focus as well. Through my own work, I find that teenagers maybe spend about 4 to 5 hours a day. And I had some extreme cases where some of my students would spend 11 hours a day purely on social media. Please read my articles and watch my other video on social media. The first thing you need to do is to use a social media tracker to understand how much your child is spending on it. But again, I'm such a big advocate and I'd be very happy to chat to you about it and help as many students as possible with minimizing social media overusage. But as a parent, you need to set really clear rules on how many hours they're allowed to be on the social media, and there should be no phones taken to bed after 9 p.m. There should be no phones during the dinner. The phones should be locked away for the majority of the time. And if you as a parent actually fed up of your child overusing their phone, then remember, you're the one who are likely that bought it in the first place. You're the one likely supporting them with that contract, telephone contract. Therefore, it's your job to actually prevent that overusage. So you could simply either put restrictions on the phone, which you can do through your phone, or you could actually get them a simple brick phone. And there have been so many cases where students and children just get like a normal, old brick phone, and they just regain their personality back, they regain those social connections, and get their academic scores back and things like that, and just simply get life back. So actually during the summer this is even more important, because if there is nothing happening much during the days, then the children and the teenagers, they're likely to spend and waste time away on social media. So please, as parents and educators, don't let that happen. This brings me to my tip number 3, read, read, read. When was the last time your child read a book? Be honest. Again, as an academic coach, I work with many students across different ages, and majority of them hardly read any books. They probably haven't read for like at least 5 years. And I find it shocking. National Literacy Trust estimates that about only 28% of children actually read books frequently. Again, this is quite appalling, because as you can imagine, reading is so essential for developing academic focus, for developing imagination, for developing those feelings and empathy towards the characters, developing cognition, developing imagination about different characters and different worlds. So reading books is so essential. And as an educator, I highly recommend that as a parent, you introduce certain reading time. So it could be that half an hour before bed. And hopefully, if you start kind of with small time periods, then you can increase it and basically encourage your children to do the reading. Quite often my students will be like, oh, well, Anna, I can't focus. I can't read. It's funny because it's catch-22, because if you don't read, your focus doesn't develop, because reading requires you to focus on something for prolonged periods of time. And if the children don't do that, that's obviously will decrease their focus. Instead, if they spend it on social media, please don't start me off again, but then you can see that how that really is detrimental and how that can really affect the focus and cognition of children. So I would highly recommend encouraging your kids, especially during the summer when they have more time, is to read more books, more fiction books, whatever they prefer. But also, if they are about to apply to universities, they're going from year 12 to year 13, this is a great time to read some non-fiction books in preparation for writing their personal statement. Number 4, find work experience. So obviously this tip is age dependent. So if your children are old enough to gain some work experience or voluntary work, I would highly encourage you to do it during the summer holiday. It provides them with so many different skills, such as interpersonal skills, professional skills, social skills, etc., etc. And it's a great opportunity for them to start thinking and trying out what jobs they might like. Maybe there are certain aspects they do like, certain aspects they don't like, but obviously they won't discover these things until they actually try it out. And again, if they're, for example, in year 12, or maybe slightly even earlier, then actually this will be useful for their personal statement writing and for their future CV. Tip number 5, visit museums. Again, ask yourself, when was the last time your child visited a museum? Many people might think, oh, museums are just for children. Well, actually, that's absolutely not true. I visit museums all the time. There are always amazing new exhibitions on. And specifically for a child, it's very important to be exposed to different museums, different collections, different subjects, to inspire and to ignite that academic curiosity. So I would highly recommend planning like a family visit and saying, okay, every other week or maybe once in every 3 weeks, we go to different museums. Especially if your child is not sure what they want to do for a career in the future, what they might want to study at the university, this is a great opportunity for them actually to go and explore and try to get involved, do some museum activities, actually try telling them different stories about the different exponents and like different objects. And I promise you, this is really kind of introducing them the bigger world, and which is outside of the school curriculum. My final tip, number 6, is pursue extracurricular activities and hobbies. Although the importance of academic work is inarguable, it's also imperative for children to pursue extracurricular activities on the side. At the end of the day, our children study the same school curriculum. So what differentiates them when they apply to universities and as individuals? Well, I strongly believe it's the extracurricular activities. So what have they started doing and what have they pursued all the way through school, and what have they perfected their skills in? So for example, if you don't know, I'm a chess player and I used to represent England when I was a junior. I participated in many competitions, including World Championship, and me pursuing chess gave me so many opportunities. It developed my cognition, it developed my problem-solving skills. I've made so many friends through it as well. Again, as an academic coach, I find quite commonly that students don't actually have proper extracurricular activities, and I think parents like quite often give up on these things and be like, oh yeah, they don't want to do it, it's fine, let them just not do it, you know, rather than hear them moaning or anything. But again, remember, universities in particular, they look what differentiates their child. They expect them to have good grades, but what is it that they do outside of their academic work? What is the voluntary work? What is the work experience? What are the extracurricular activities? Because that shows obviously indirectly the resilience, perseverance, how they obtain other different skills as well. This brings us to the end of this video. If you have any other ideas or tips on what children might be doing during the summer, then please leave them in the comments below. Again, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and remember, I offer free consultations to discuss on any academic needs you might have. So please get in touch via the comments below or via my website. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.